Welcome, fellow Kiss fans. Welcome to It's All For You Demons, celebrating the fun of being a Kiss fan tonight. Celebrating two rabbit holes I've kind of been teetering with over the past year or so. Tour books and iron-ons. And how they combine into one glorious package in 1976. The first tour book I ever bought was from my second Kiss show. It was the Revenge tour book. This is actually Dan's copy he gifted me on my birthday. Definitely one of my favorite tour books. I just remember, standing in the audience, general admission show, waiting for Kiss to come out in our hometown of St. Joseph, Missouri, and just how gigantic this tour book was, and just the amount of rock and roll dreams that were born flipping through this book. 19 years of age, good times. Now, my first Kiss show was Hot in the Shade, and Bonner Springs, Kansas, May 12th, 1990, did not have tour books in stock, so I had to pick this up off of eBay a few years ago, another gigantic tour book. But this one is fun because this is what we missed out on. We really wanted to buy a tour book the night of the show, and there were none in stock, so it's a fun flip through of what could have been back then. And this was the first tour book I ever saw in my life, was the 77-78 tour book. My neighbor Brett, Danny, Brett, myself, were all getting into Kiss. His brother had this tour book and Dynasty tour book. My early days of discovering Kiss, falling in love with flipping through this book every time we were in Brett's basement. And it was this picture of Ace that just lives in my head from being 15 years old, high school, Friday nights, Brett Parker's basement, the road to Kiss fandom. And then, of course, the Dynasty tour book, which is another Brett Parker basement Big Brother tour book. It's weird back then because I was 15. I didn't realize how big Dynasty would become in my life. But it was right around this period that Danny bought me Dynasty on CD, and it became my winter soundtrack. I do love this tour book. Absolutely the greatest picture of Gene ever. Anywhere. To date is inside the Dynasty tour book. And I actually have two copies. This would be version 3. This would be version 4. Still need to find a version 2. The odds of a version 1 are Powerball odds, but I do love that date. September 14th, 1979 on my version 3. And there's a little snippet of the difference between version 3 and version 4. After Revenge would have been the 95 convention, and then, of course, the reunion tour. So I did buy this tour book at the reunion show, Kemper Arena, July 96. Got this tour book at some point. I don't even remember how, and I don't even remember liking it back then or now. Could you buy this in stores? Was this sold on the newsstand? I don't even remember buying this thing. Yeah, this is not one of my favorite tour books. At one point I bought the Japan Crazy Nights tour book. This is fun. I especially love this ad in the back for the Crazy Collection, which I would love to get that Crazy Collection Dynasty, but these are pricey records. The next tour book I actually bought at a show was Sonic Boom, so I kind of lived under a rock between the reunion show and Sonic Boom. I will admit it. And I never saw a Monster show. Freedom of Rock tour, I don't think they had a tour book, and so the next tour book I bought at a show was End of the Road 2019 at Madison Square Garden. This is a version 2 if you're into all the End of the Road versions. And then my final tour book was purchased December 1st, 2023, Madison Square Garden, the Madison Square Garden edition of the End of the Road tour book, version 9 if you're into the versions. And this one's hugely special to me. I was hoping they did a Madison Square Garden tour book. They did. The notes are different, and I love the fact that the notes are centered around New York City. That's very cool. So the tour books I actually purchased in person, my two favorite would be Revenge and the Madison Square Garden End of the Road. Which brings us to this, I am not too into vintage tour books. I would like to travel down that rabbit hole. It's a pricey rabbit hole. My first kind of venture into that beyond purchasing Dynasty is this 1976 Rock and Roll Over tour book, which I believe is the exact same tour book as Destroyer, includes different live shots of Paul, and of course Rock and Roll Over is present as the album on the back. So this would have been a late 76, early 77 tour book, but man, this thing is a beauty. Little blurb hyping you up for the Kiss phenomenon. Bill Coyne, the book designed by Dennis Wollock, published by Boutwell, those incredible Boutwell posters, and just some very, very cool shots. Pre-77. I mean, you look at pictures like this and you realize why every 8th grade kid became a Kiss fan. How freaking cool is that? Another rabbit hole that I started to go down. What in the world? You are crazy. Another rabbit hole that I started to go down last year, maybe the year before, was iron-ons. I don't have a lot, but what I do, it's fun. And the first of that fun is the Holobeck ad. Let's make your star a supernova with Holobeck Studios iron-ons. And it's a Kiss ad. And then down here where you could write in or call for further information on custom iron-ons and a complete line of transfers, you could write to the Holobeck Studios and get a free Kiss iron-on. And this is that iron-on. This is what they would send you back if you wrote in or called and wanted a free Kiss iron-on. Here is your Kiss iron-on with the instructions, the yellow gold 77 logo. There you go. This is iron-on fun, and this is why I went down this rabbit hole. Next up, your classic rainbow, t-shirt shop in the mall iron-on. This is one of my favorites. This is that classic 77 lunchbox photo. Here we have the Gene Simmons Alive 2 poster shot. Here's the Paul Stanley Alive 2 poster shot. The Peter Alive 2 poster shot. Then we have a blank page for Ace. One day. Ace is always the hardest to come by, no matter what. You try to collect anything, you try to complete a set, Maybe it's just me. Ace is always the last to show up. I call it the curse of Ace, and this is a bootleg, obviously, not a coin iron-on, but man, I freaking love this one. I love the rainbow colors, I love that glitter, and that drip is so 1979. Going to the mall, you're gonna go roller skating later with your friends. This is more of a girl's shirt, but man, who cares? Wear it with roller rink, disco, rock, fun. But that leads us back to the Rock and Roll Over tour book, and this tour book has the special iron-on for Kiss fans that a lot of these tour books are missing. So I was super stoked to get this iron-on. The Kiss Army wants you. If you're a real Kiss fan, you'll want the information on the exciting Kiss Army. You'll find all the details and membership form on the last page of this tour book. But here's your iron-on. We hope you enjoy this attractive, specially designed full-color Kiss iron-on transfer. This colorful, easy-to-apply transfer is being offered to Kiss concert fans throughout the year's tour. And there's the instructions on the back. I've seen a lot of these tour books with this square missing that kids would have cut out to have their parents apply this iron-on. That's so much fun to think about. How many of those iron-on shirts are out there somewhere just completely worn out? And then that last page, a lot of this is missing too from these tour books. The Army ad in the back. And of course, never let a marketing chance go away. The Rock and Roll Over merch form. Same as the album merch form, of course larger and different color scheme. More iron-on fun to one day hunt down the 1976 Rock and Roll Over tour book, completing 2 rabbit holes, tour book and iron-on. Thank you for hanging with us tonight and waxing a little rock and roll nostalgia about the 76 Rock and Roll Over tour book, and hanging with us here in the Wax Night house. Be good to your babies. Spay, neuter, microchip. Take care. Be safe. We will talk to you soon.